Welcome back to another video. My name's Rick and my aim is to help you realize the truth that feeling great really is your natural state. So today marks the 1-year anniversary of the day that I started what is now known worldwide as the Wim Hof Method. And I can tell you in a nutshell right now that it's been a hell of a year, had so many changes, so many developments, so many advancements, and which I'm going to be sharing with you, every one of them in the next few minutes. But before I get stuck into that, I just want to give you a bit of background context in case you haven't heard of the Wim Hof Method or the man behind the method, Mr. Wim Hof himself. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. Anyway, I'll give you a quick overview of that now. So he's been around for a long time, he's in his early 60s now, I believe, and he's been setting world records throughout his whole life. He was the first man to run up Mount Everest in nothing but his shorts and bare feet for a while, but certainly topless, which by itself is just insane. He did the same thing with Mount Kilimanjaro. He's done it numerous times actually, Kilimanjaro, in record times as well. He's run a marathon in the desert without stopping for any water while not training before doing the marathon, which is absolutely insane. And he also ran a marathon in the Arctic Circle, the Polar Circle, Arctic Circle, again with no previous marathon training, also without stopping for water. So he's been able to do some incredible things. He's also had, he's had 26 world records in total. I think there was another one. He set a world record as well for longest time sitting in an ice bath, which I think it was around the 2-hour mark. Again, something insane. So it's basically in his blood, setting, smashing, breaking world records. And I first came across the man Wim Hof on the Joe Rogan Experience back when he was still on YouTube. It was just over a year ago, maybe a year and 3 months ago, give or take. And I thought, wow, this guy's amazing. But like most talks we go to, or most talks we listen to, or seminars we hear, or people we see or whatnot, we get inspired at the time, but then tend to maybe not apply a lot of what we learned. It's just human nature. You can only retain and apply so much unless it makes a really meaningful impact on you, which is what Wim Hof did more so than any other people that I have seen before. So I didn't start it straight away. I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. And then I think I kept coming back to that video over and over again over the next few weeks and months. And I saw him in other places as well. Tom Bilyeu's Impact Theory. I saw the Vice special where the Vice team went over to Poland and they trained with Wim Hof himself, and they did the cold exposure, they did breathing and a lot of other different really unorthodox exercises, which were absolutely amazing. So I started seeing them pop up more and more. Obviously, that's the way the algorithm online works, but also with their own reticular activating system. Whenever we see something or hear something and it piques our interest and we start seeing it and hearing it more and more often, like if you want to buy a blue car, you start seeing blue cars everywhere. Could have been a bit of that. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is, I first saw him over a year and 3 months ago in the Joe Rogan Experience, and since then it's just been a continually upwards progressive journey, and one which hopefully will never end. Anyway, so that's basically where I met him, digitally. Haven't had the honor of actually meeting him yet in person, but that's something I would very much like to do, and I would encourage anyone watching this video to do the same thing. If you get an opportunity, just go for it. Just go to one of his seminars, one of his webinars, practical workshops, whatever you can. Anyway, so let's see, I've had to write a list because there's a lot to include in this video today, so please forgive me. So yeah, why did I start the Wim Hof Method? Before I say why I started it, let's focus more on what it is. In essence, it's the ultimate self-improvement or self-development tool, well, more specifically an arsenal of tools, and when applied, it can completely overhaul your mind, mental health, your body and physical health, and also, I would say, your spiritual development, your spiritual, enlightenment, for use of a better term. So the method has 3 main key pillars, and that is breathing, cold exposure, and mindset. Mindset can be changed with meditation, but it's all the same thing. You're basically changing your mindset, and you're doing it through meditation, along with the other exercises as well. But I'll break it down, or I'll go into more detail right now. So first pillar is the breathing exercise, and I'm not going to go into too much detail here because I want to keep it very brief. I want to focus on the benefits and changes that I have personally noticed over the last year. But the breathing, essentially, it's 3 rounds, hyperventilated breathing. You breathe 30 breaths in really deeply, quite quickly. Then you let it go. So fully in, and then just naturally let it go. It's forced hyperventilation. You're basically taking in more air than you're letting out. You get a bit lightheaded. You increase the pH of your blood. You tap into your sympathetic fight or flight response, your sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight response. And then by the end of that, you do a breath hold. So you let your breath go, and then you just hold it for as long as you can. You might only be able to do it for 30 seconds the first time. It could be 60 seconds, 90 seconds. You'll find you'll be able to do it longer and longer the more you do it. But eventually you'll get to a point of diminishing returns. It doesn't really matter how long you hold it for. It's the fact that you're actually doing it. And I want to leave that right there now. So that's basically the breathing. The next pillar, or the next step, is the cold exposure. So cold exposure, simple as it sounds, you can do a cold bath, cold shower, ice bath, warm shower, make it cold at the very end. There's no real right or wrong way to do it. The point is you have to go out of your comfort zone and you're putting yourself into a stressful situation. And by doing that willingly, you're conditioning your mind. But I don't want to mention that just right now because that's one of the benefits, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. So, yep, you simply do a cold bath, cold shower, ice bath, whatever you want to call it, as long as it's cold, and you do it for 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 90 seconds, whatever you can manage. Ideally, do it every day. I'd recommend doing it at the start of the day because you're going to feel like you can run up a mountain. So that's that. And then the third and final step is the mindset or meditation. And I would view that as I interlink it with the cold and or the breathing. Well, both cold and breathing. Whenever I'm doing my breathing, especially the breath hold, I do meditation. Meditation, you can make it as complicated or simple as you want. What I like to do is I play a nature music video on my smart TV and I focus on the nature scene when I'm doing the breathing, and then whenever I'm doing the breath hold, I just I listen to the sounds, I pay attention to the sounds without judging them. I'm basically just being present to the moment. I do that in one round, and then the second round I might do an affirmation meditation where I'm going, I am strong, I am powerful, I am smart, I am love, I am peace, I am joy, I am enlightenment. I'm going through all these positive affirmations and at the same time feeling the emotions of what it is that I am affirming. So that, again, by itself is a very, very powerful exercise. And then the third round, I chop and change it as well. I might set intentions for the day ahead, like I might visualize what it is that I want to achieve, what I want to do. And yeah, things like that. There's no right or wrong way to do your meditation. But that's one part of it. The other part is actually in the cold shower. That itself is a meditation as well, which I'm going to get onto now in the benefits. So, but that's basically the mindset. I mean, even stepping into a cold shower by itself has to change your mindset. One where you have to will yourself out of your comfort zone and really, step into the unknown. It takes balls, for use of a better word, better term. Anyway, so that's essentially the Wim Hof Method in a nutshell in terms of doing it. I want to focus now on the crux of this video, which is the benefits, the changes, the perks that I have experienced over the last year of doing this every day, essentially every day for a year. And I'm going to have to consult my list because it's quite extensive, and I've broken it down into, excuse my scribbly writing, I've been told it looks like that of an arthritic old man, but that's my cross to bear, that's my burden. I'm left-handed as well, so maybe that's a factor, I don't know. Maybe I'm from a different era, maybe I'm from Victorian age and I'm just trapped in a different time. We'll never know. But so yeah, I write in cursive. So I decided to split the benefits into two distinct categories. Mind and spirit on one side. I thought I would lump them all together because a lot of the benefits do overlap. And then on the other side, the other segment is the physical benefits. So I'd like to start with we'll start with the mind and spirit benefits first of all. So now a lot of these, there is a lot of overlap. I've tried to differentiate them as much as I can, and I'll keep it as simple as I can as well. I'll not labour it too much because I don't want to take up too much of your time today, but let's get through this. So in no significantly particular order, I've noticed these develop, some quite quickly, some quite slowly over the last year. But the first one which I would like to share today is the first benefit from doing this routine is increased presence. So I find myself grounded in the present moment, which means I'm not thinking ahead, projecting into the future, worrying about things which may or may never happen. I'm not dwelling on the past. And this is twofold. It's due to, or the cause of this is twofold. It's due to, well, the meditation and the breathing, the fact that you're actually focusing on your breath whenever you're doing the breathing routine, and also whenever you're focusing on basically staying calm in the shower or the bath, in the cold bath, cold shower, So that grounds you in the present moment, which generally just increases your sense of presence, which seeps throughout the rest of the day, or seeps into the rest of your day, therefore keeping you grounded, keeping you calm, keeping you a lot more mindful and aware of your surroundings as well. So that is the first major benefit which I would like to share, and this spills over to the next benefit, which is an increased sense of calm and peace. So I know I may not seem quite calm right now because I'm trying to get a lot of information out here, and so I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, and I do tend to speak quite quickly. But my tendency to speak quickly used to result in, well, it was a symptom, I suppose, of me thinking very quickly. I can think very quickly, not necessarily correctly all the time, but I mean, my brain's quite strange in that I can speak backwards. But I'll make another video on that separately. The second benefit, which I want to really emphasize now, is sense of calm and peace. Beforehand, I could have been quite jittery, and I could have been calm, and then that could have changed to anxiety, just like that there, if I followed the wrong mental rabbit hole. And it happened quite a lot. That doesn't happen at all anymore now, because I'm able to stay grounded, stay present to the moment. This calmness, this peace, it basically comes when I want and lasts as long as I want. Now, I can upset the calm, of course, by, chasing mental rabbits through my head and just projecting into the future and living in the past and being worried and bitter, whatever, that's all within human capacity. But whenever you are able to stay present, you can maintain a sense of calmness and peace. And this ties into the next benefit I found, which is mental clarity. Because your mind is less cluttered through the act of meditation and also staying present, you're able to focus a lot better, and you can think more clearly and more creatively as well. I find both my clarity and my creativity have improved massively, more and more the more I do this. Even now, it's still improving bit by bit each day. Even if you're only improving by 1% each day, over 100 days, that's potentially 100%, 100% improvement, 365% in a year. So it compounds like investing in an index fund. Small gains eventually compound over time to make substantial gains. So that's the first few benefits: increased presence, increased calmness and peace, increased clarity with mind, or increased clarity of mind. And again, that spills over into a greater sense of well-being, general well-being altogether. So whenever you're calm, whenever you're peaceful, you feel more love, you feel more joy, you feel more enlightenment, you generally feel better about yourself, which I do because I used to have a lot of self-doubt. Like a lot of the time, especially if after a few drinks, whenever I was out at university or back at university and out with friends, I used to have flashbacks to some traumatic experiences back home, with family members, things like that there. Anyway, we're not going to worry about that. The point is that is essentially gone now, completely and utterly. It's almost like it's melted away. I've learned to let go. I've learned to detach from it because it was mental baggage which no longer served me. It was a story I told myself, or stories I told myself based on previous experiences, and they've completely gone. And that has substantially improved my sense of self-well-being. And that actually brought me into my next benefit, which was an increased sense of joy. I could have put that one before the last one, but they're all very much interlinked. The sense of joy, I believe, comes from a rush of endorphins and adrenaline release as well whenever you do the cold exposure, and also the breathing, because it taps into your sympathetic nervous system, which releases adrenaline. That, I believe, is a factor. Endorphins can help you feel good as well, of course. I mean, you've heard of runner's high, your dopamine, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, all of those hormones, they all make you feel good. You get those released whenever you do your cold exposure, whenever you do your breathing, but also whenever you're able to stay present and let go of any negative attachments, negative thoughts, negative thought processes, things like that there, that allows your frequency to naturally rise higher. And I have experienced so much more joy in the last year. Love, joy, and peace, all working together to just improve your overall my overall, and yours if you do it as well, your overall sense of well-being. So I've got all of that. Super. Let's see. Moving a little bit away from the emotional side now, I have found my concentration, my ability to focus has improved massively as well. And again, I believe that is a result of basically having to force myself into the present moment and focus on the task at hand, be it staying in the shower for the 30, 60, 90 seconds or the cold bath for however long. I find I can stay longer in a cold bath, maybe 10, 15 minutes until it starts to warm up. Then it's not really, you're sort of losing the point, losing the benefit. So definitely my concentration has improved a lot. It was never bad before, but my my ability to resist temptation in that procrastination. I used to procrastinate, as you know. Well, who doesn't? I mean, we're human. I mean, if I want to play a game of solitaire, I'm going to play a game of solitaire, but now that doesn't really happen so much. So definitely sense of concentration, or skill to concentrate, ability to concentrate has improved massively once again. So, or not once again, but as another benefit, I should say. Let me see. That ties into what I would like to describe as mental stamina. My mental stamina has improved alongside all these other benefits I've just mentioned. And by mental stamina, I mean not just mental stamina and ability to focus and concentrate, but also resistance to mental fatigue or burnout. Because burnout is something I've come pretty close to experiencing a few times over the years, be it at university, be it during my pre-reg year as working as an optometrist. There was a lot to do in that year. Working, studying, worrying about exams, assessments, projecting into the future, worrying about what may or may not ever happen. That all contributed to near burnout numerous times. But since I've been doing this, it hasn't been a factor at all. It hasn't even been on my radar. I've just felt completely resilient. And even with this thing which is going on in the world right now, this global, well, whatever you want to call it, the thing that must not be named, people have been suffering. Mental health, obviously physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, in all sorts of ways. But my mental health, my sense of well-being, my mental stamina, clarity, creativity, everything, it's been elevated to levels I've never experienced before. And I can't recommend this method enough just for those benefits alone. So moving on from that, I've only got a couple more here in the mind spirit side, you'll be glad to hear. Let me see, here's one I missed actually, sorry. Stress resistance. That is another benefit, but I think that ties in with the one which I just mentioned. So I think the stress, well, I know the stress resistance comes from you conditioning yourself to stress. Whenever you go to the gym, you stress your muscles by lifting weights, by lifting them up and putting them down. This is the same thing. Whenever you get into a cold shower or a cold bath, or even the breathing routine, you are consciously stressing your body for a short period of time. But what you're doing is you're allowing your mind to toughen to it. You're also allowing your immune system to toughen to it, like your muscles toughen to resistance training. So it spills over into the rest of your life, into the rest of the day. You can get over the stress of stepping into a cold shower or having a warm shower, then turning it down cold at the very end. You can handle that angry, disgruntled customer at work. Not a problem. I mean, so what if they're having a bad day and they're taking out on you? I mean, don't take it personally. Just let it go, because you've got a skin of armor. You're literally a walking armor. You're Iron Man, woman. You're Iron Man and or Iron Woman, whatever. So you do feel quite impervious to things and insults, confrontational situations, things like that. They don't have the same effect. They just roll right. They roll right off your skin. It's genuinely fantastic. So and all this compounds and results in an increased sense of confidence. So my confidence was wavering before. It's kind of like a flicker switch, rocker switch. It could have been on, off, pretty intermittent. Now it's basically on all the time, almost all the time. I'm not a machine just yet, but I generally feel a lot more confident just throughout the day when I'm talking to people, meeting new people. And of course, that's only a good thing. So I've covered a lot of different benefits there, and I'm going to write them up and put them in the description below as well, because I know it's a lot to take in, but I want to keep it all nice and clear. Anyway, so now I'll move on to the physical benefits, and they are almost as plentiful as the mind/spirit benefits. So again, I'll try and keep it concise, not bore you too much, but the main one, well, no, they're not. There is no main one in particular as far as I have experienced, but I would like to start off with increased energy, because whenever you do the method at the start of the day, so I do my cold shower first, then I do my breathing after. Some would say maybe do the breathing first, because what can happen is it can actually turn off the pain receptors in your body, which means it's easier to do the cold. I actually did that at the start. I did my breathing and then the cold bath. But for the last 8-9 months or so, I've just been doing the conventional. Well, nothing about this is conventional. I do it in the morning because it just fires me up for the day ahead. So cold shower, then breathing, energy throughout the day. So taking 10 Red Bulls with none of the side effects. Genuinely fantastic. So first benefit, that I'd like to share, physical benefit, is that. Now, it's not just physical energy, it's also mental energy as well, because, well, one, you're oxygenating your head, and two, it's that adrenaline release, from the sympathetic nervous system activation. It's just everything is ready to go, but you're not jittery, you're not feeling awkwardly energetic, so it's like a really nice natural energy high. After that, well, it ties into the next one. No fatigue. I used to have morning fatigue every now and again, especially waking up. It would take like maybe half an hour to get up, and like, oh, I don't want. Then you hit the alarm clock and snooze, and it's a whole thing. But it's gone. There is next to no morning fatigue at all. It can be a wee bit tricky sometimes, or there can be a bit of difficulty sometimes getting up in the morning. But I find I'm a lot more disciplined now, getting up when I intend to get up, and I think that's a result of one of the benefits which I mentioned before, which is the increased discipline, which results from the cold showers, stepping into them, and doing my breathing routine every day. So there's that. More energy, less fatigue. Another one is generally, now, maybe not as obvious a benefit, but a bit, well, it's still very much real. Deeper breathing throughout the day. I'm a lot more conscious of my breathing throughout the day, which is fantastic, because whenever you breathe more deeply, you're supplying more oxygen to your head, your brain, your body, everywhere basically. The typical, or the average human lung has about 12 litres of volume. It holds about 12 litres of oxygen, and on any given breath, you inhale, exhale about half a litre, so you're hardly using your lungs' total capacity at all. Most people just breathe very shallowly without thinking about it. Now, I'm consciously aware of my breathing throughout the day, so I'll actually automatically now just take a few more deep breaths where I might not have done before, and that just helps keep everything flowing smoothly. It helps reduce any form of stress. If there is a little bit there, I mean, you still might experience a bit of stress, but it doesn't bother you the same way, and it melts away much quicker, and your threshold is much higher. But whenever you feel yourself getting stressed, your cortisol levels spike. That can cause a whole host of problems. Cortisol is the stress hormone. One of the main downsides is it can cause fat retention as well, so a good thing to be aware of. It can also cause premature aging. But whenever you breathe deeply, even just for a minute, that cuts that cortisol level in half, possibly even more. So that itself is a fantastic benefit. After that, deeper breathing. You could argue I should have started with this benefit at the very beginning, but I don't want to say no sickness, but I haven't, touch wood, I don't want to tempt fate. I probably shouldn't say it. I might say it. Should I say it? I will say it. Okay, I'm going to say it. So basically, I haven't been sick since I started this method. Not for a day. The closest I came to getting sick was having some impacted earwax, which just somehow appeared in my ear. Probably my own fault, like scratching my ear and got some vertigo. But other than that, nothing, not so much as a cold, sniffle, ache, pain, flu, anything else, touch wood, and I am supremely grateful for it, and actually include that in my gratitude exercises every morning, or gratitude routine every morning. So I can chalk that up to, I don't want to go into too much detail now because I know this video is pushing on a bit, but the no sickness is due to boosted immunity or immune system through the cold exposure, which actually has been found to increase the number of white blood cells released into the blood. They're produced in the bone marrow, and whenever you do the cold exposure routinely, more white blood cells are produced. It's been found in a few different studies actually, so if you want, you can look into it. Definitely, it's peer-reviewed research. Also, whenever you I believe there's also a benefit as well whenever you do the breathing routine as well. That has been found, I'm quite sure, to actually boost the number of white blood cells as well within the bloodstream. And white blood cells, they're obviously they produce like the antibodies, which fight invading bacteria, viruses, pathogens, things like that there. And there's a lot of different types of white blood cells, like B cells, T cells, lymphocytes, monocytes, neutrophils, etc. But again, that's histology. No, that's not the wrong word. It's cellular, molecular, some human biology. No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what branch of science is. The point is, your white blood cell count goes up a lot through this method, and yeah, the benefits, that benefit alone should be reason enough for anyone to want to try this method, especially if you find yourself suffering from a lot of health issues, whatever they may be. This next benefit ties in directly with that, and it's one I can testify to personally. A lot of other people have reported it before, and scientific research has supported this also, and I'll get into that now. That is reduced inflammation. So inflammation is a massive problem worldwide. It's responsible for, some people say responsible for, some people say the cause of, or a symptom of different things, but it is very, very much linked to a number of massively common diseases across the world, including diabetes, high blood pressure / hypertension, arthritis, appendicitis, colonitis, irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's disease, and a lot more as well. So whenever you do this method, particularly the breathing, it releases interleukin A, I believe it is, which is an anti-inflammatory protein, which basically, the clue is in the name, it fights inflammation in the body. Whenever I started doing the method, this is one of the main reasons why I started the method, is because I was getting stomach pains due to stress. And that itself was a form of inflammation, and the stomach pains were coming and going sporadically for 3 weeks or so. It was awful. Nothing was working. No medication was working. And then I started the method, the Wim Hof Method, and honestly, in less than 3 days, it was gone, completely gone. No issues whatsoever at all. I also had some mild inflammation in my knuckle here. It was that knuckle there. It was there for a few years. It could have been a result from, I don't know what caused it. It could have been a result from weight training, possibly. Maybe I used to think I had somehow banged it in the night and it was just a bruise, but it never went away. It was a degree of inflammation. And nothing really worked. It was only a very mild irritation. Nothing to cry about, maybe a 3 out of 10 in terms of discomfort, so just very, very mild. But inside a number of weeks of doing this method, by exposing my hands to cold water, it completely disappeared. So that is a very, very small isolated episode of inflammation, but for me personally, I can account that exclusively to the Wim Hof Method and nothing else. So, and also the stomach pains as well, the way they simply just disappeared. Never had them before until I got really, really stressed, chronically stressed over 3-4 weeks. And then after just several days, it had gone completely. So, and there's a lot more testimonials as well from other people with different diseases, but that's beyond the scope of this video. I just want to focus on what I've experienced over the last year. So definitely just inflammation. And well, again, these all tie in with each other. So apologies if it seems like I'm going backwards and forwards. Nasal decongestion. That's an interesting bonus, actually. And that is something I've noticed with the breathing. It may also be linked to the cold as well, but I think it's more to do with the breathing. So nasal decongestion. I used to have bad sinuses, basically, and I'd always walk around with a handkerchief in my hand. I inherited it from my dad. So inflamed sinuses, it was annoying. Nose breathing was quite difficult. At the start, I had to actually do the breathing routine through my mouth, mostly because my nose just wasn't great. But then what I found was, after doing one round of breathing through my mouth, my nose would actually be clear. All of a sudden, I thought that's quite unusual. And this would happen all the time. And I would test that to the release of adrenaline, which is a dilator. Basically, the clue's in the name, it decongests like your nasal passageways, your airways, and dilates your vessels to your main organs. Well, not the main organs, sorry, it would be your main limbs, because you're activating the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight system. You want to be able to either fight or run away and get air into your body, so that would make sense. But digging a little bit more deeply, whenever you do the breathing, nitric oxide is released. Nitric oxide is a compound which is, again, not nitrous oxide. That's from Need for Speed, okay? Or Too Fast, Too Furious. Well, that's again both Need for Speed and Too Fast, Too Furious. Anyway, this is nitric oxide. There was a pre-workout. There still is a pre-workout called nitric oxide as well. So similar but different. Nitric oxide is produced naturally in the body, and it's a dilator. It dilates the vessels to your muscles to make them work more efficiently, more effectively, and it also dilates your nasal passageways. Nitric oxide is released from the epithelial lining within your nose. Whenever you breathe in through your nose, nitric oxide is released and dilates everything, which in turn would relieve nasal congestion. So the adrenaline release coupled with the nitric oxide release, I believe, is what is responsible for this newfound nasal decongestion, and it lasts basically most of the day, almost all the day. It's fantastic, genuinely life-changing for someone like me. And again, another benefit, which I believe is due to the adrenaline release of the breathing and also the cold, is allergy relief. So I don't know if you have any allergies. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But personally, I have a peanut allergy, which is, well, it's not the worst. It's not the greatest, but it just means I don't know what salted peanuts taste like, and I've always wanted to know what KP salted peanuts taste like. I'll probably never know. And that's my burden to bear. But anyway, the point is, I love kiwis. They're fantastic. But for whatever reason, one time, whenever I was at home, I ate a kiwi, and for some reason, I had a mild allergic reaction. I could feel my lips tingling a bit. My throat was getting a bit funny. And I wasn't very serious at all, very, very, very low, maybe a 2 out of 10. But it would have persisted maybe half an hour, maybe a bit longer, because I know what the reaction feels like. So I thought spontaneously, okay, let's just do some breathing, see what happens. And I did one round of the Wim Hof breathing, fully in, 30 to 40 breaths, about 35 breaths I think it was. Did my breath hold, and then just let it go. And inside that few minutes, the reaction had just disappeared. It had gone. It had disappeared completely. And I can totally, well, I believe that was completely due to the release of adrenaline, because look at it this way: whenever someone has an anaphylactic shock, what does the doctor do? What does the nurse do? What does the paramedic do? They give them a shot of epinephrine or adrenaline, same thing, and it neutralizes the anaphylaxis. It stops it dead. The reaction I was having was a very, very, very mild version of anaphylaxis. That's what an allergy is, or an allergic reaction is, and it nipped it in the bud. It disappeared almost completely. It was fantastic. And this has happened a couple of times because I thought, no, I like kiwis. And my body is not going to stop me from eating kiwi. If I want to have a kiwi, I'm going to have a kiwi and I'm going to enjoy it. But the thing is, I couldn't really enjoy it because there was that allergic reaction, and my stubbornness would have got the better of me, but the breathing stopped it. So long story short, the breathing seemed to nullify the very, very mild allergic reaction which I experienced to that kiwi. So that was a very, very, very welcome benefit, and one which you could bear in mind if you, heaven forbid, you ever do find yourself in a position where you are having a mild allergic reaction and you don't have any medication like an antihistamine or epinephrine. It's just a possibility to bear in mind, but one I can personally attest to. So other benefits as well. Fat loss. Fat loss is quite a big one. Not so much for me, because my body fat was about 9 or 10% beforehand, but it has dropped in the last year, and I've done nothing really differently apart from this method, which I believe must be the sole explanation for it. Because what happens is, physiologically, we have two main types of body fat. We have good brown fat, which is metabolically active. It burns calories. It's good. It's our friend. The other one is the white fat, which is it's inert. It just sits there and takes up space, and it's the result of having too much high sugar, high bad fatty foods in our diet, not exercising enough, and that's basically what we see in people who are overweight or obese. So good fat brown, white fat bad. And what cold exposure does is it actually converts white fat to brown fat, which in turn will actually burn more calories, therefore helping you, lose weight. But it's not good to lose weight. You want to burn fat. Burn fat, don't lose weight. So that's one benefit, because my body fat has, because I checked it with body fat calibers. Long story short, my phone decided to corrupt the last couple of minutes of my video, and I didn't realize this until I was editing the final cut. So I was almost finished anyway whenever I was talking about body fat before and body calibers, and essentially all I was going to say was that the body fat calibers had shown that my body fat had actually dropped from about 8 to 9% down to 7 to 8% thereabouts, and I could only attest it to the results of the Wim Hof Method, because I didn't really do anything differently. But other than that, there was only one more physical benefit which I want to share with you today, and that is increased tolerance to cold. I never really would have been bothered by the cold much before, but after having been exposed to cold water and ice baths, cold showers on a daily basis for a year, I found myself not having to wear a jacket any time, really. Especially if I was just going outside for short bursts, everybody else would be like wrapped up in hats and coats and scarves, and I found that even in -2, -3 degrees Celsius, I could still get by somewhat comfortably without a coat. But it's not to say you don't need to put on a coat, of course. If you want to put on a coat, work away. But I've just noticed that my ability to regulate my temperature seems to have improved significantly over the last year. So that's really it's a nice perk, a nice bonus, I think, like a cherry on the cake with regards to all the other advantages, benefits that I've discovered or observed over the last year. So that's basically everything today. I hope you gain some degree of value from the things that I shared with you today, and that this will, if anything, motivate you to actually try the method yourself, because, you've got nothing to lose at all, and absolutely everything to gain. So, again, as always, please comment away in the section below if you have any thoughts, comments, suggestions, any arguments. If you think I missed anything or I could have improved anything, please post away. I'm always willing to learn. And as always, thanks again for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, and Take care. All the best.